What's up, everybody? It's your boy B. Scott with the Philadelphia Eagles. I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star rating. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Thanks for tuning in to Eagles Brawl of the Brawl Network. However you're listening, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, because everybody uses Google, I guess, nowadays, because I get told a lot of people use Google Podcasts. I didn't really kind of surprise me. But Stitcher, YouTube, all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. I have a special guest with me right now, Johnny Kinsley, at Brickwall Blitz on Twitter is how everybody can know him, the creator of the Deep Ball Project. Perfect guest to have on because, Johnny, you were one of the anti-Wentzers back in the day. You came to the light side, so all is forgiven with that. My question is, to start it all off with you, is I was a guy that, before the Eagles stuff, because I just love watching college quarterbacks coming out and evaluating them and decide, because to me, Wentz was head and shoulders the best of that class. Yeah. I think Dak back then people had like Dak at like 4th or 5th. Done exceptionally well. You and I have talked about him on my other show that we think Dak's a great quarterback. But I mean, Goff, Paxton Lynch obviously became a bust. Christian Hackenberg, we're not even gonna waste time on. But when you go back and I'm guessing like I don't know what made you like not believe in Wentz at first. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. But was it based off his rookie season, or was it based off of him coming from Division II school and not really knowing how things are going to pan out?
It was kind of with the coming from a Division II school and not seeing how he was able to pan out. But truthfully, like when I first saw him play like actual professional football, I was actually kind of impressed with how he was doing with the first 3 games of his rookie season and how he was able to stand in the pocket, taking hits while delivering accurate passes down the field. And since then, I felt like the last 13 games of his rookie season, I felt like he was locked onto receivers more often than he should have been. Of course, his decision-making in those last 13 games was more erratic and showed that he wasn't ready just yet to take the league by storm, which is really what he did in 2017. And he refined some of the errors from his rookie season, showed more comfortable footwork, hit higher peaks, found himself at those peaks much more consistently. On the other hand, I also feel like at the time I felt that he was surrounded with by far the best supporting cast of his career. He had sensational play calling from Doug Peterson, Frank Reich, Groh, the league's best offensive line that year. Receivers that weren't jobbing passes every other play, which was, of course, kind of an outlier considering what we've seen since then. And as a result, he didn't have to do too much, like nearly as much as he wasn't asked to do quite as much as he was in his rookie season and since 2017, and that really helped, not just putting up like a statistical dominance, but also like helping him progress as a passer, and that's kind of why I've been more impressed with his 2018, 2019 seasons. Like, not to say he wasn't an MVP candidate in 2017, but I think obviously the environments he was in the last 2 seasons were way worse, and yet he was continuing to improve in terms of, from my way of thinking, in terms of pocket discipline and accuracy. I felt like the offense he was in for 2017 helped mask some of the issues he had in his rookie season, which was certainly important in helping him progress as a passer that season and beyond. And I feel like unlike guys like Jared Goff or Derek Carr or the other quarterbacks of his class, which we will not name, he was constantly improving under pressure. And in 2019, while he did have that really streaky middle part of the season, he cleaned that up in time for the December stretch and really took hold of a team whose best wideout at the time was a rookie running back in Miles Sanders. So overall, for me, his processing has improved. His footwork tends to lock into the ground less than ever before, and whereas he was making Winston-esque decisions in his rookie season, now he's taking better care of the ball behind worse offenses, which is a huge plus for me.
I like that you brought up one of these points because that's what I was going to ask you. Since you evaluate the deep ball, when I noticed from him at North Dakota State that he can get away with, since it's a Division II ball, was he never stepped into his deep passes. He would just launch it. he would stay flat-footed into the ground, just launch it. And I think then, because the corners were slower there, the wide receivers are slower there, you get away with that. When he came into the NFL and he was launching passes like that, because I could think of the Nelson Aguilar versus Detroit, where he just threw it up there, he didn't get anything until he didn't step into the throw whatsoever at all, just lobbed it up there. Darius Slay intercepted it because there was a lot pass right to him. That's what my thing is with Carson Wentz. What I see, like, for his progression the most, if you take that into consideration, that play versus Detroit, and compare it to last season when they played Washington to open the season, and he hits Deshaun Jackson, those two deep pass touchdowns, he stepped into those throws beautifully. So I agree with you that his footwork has taken such a huge step forward, and I think that's what a lot of people questioned for him coming out, was he was sticking in the mud when he threw passes because he could get away with it with his arm talent at North Dakota State. When he came to the NFL, he was sort of playing in the same retrospect, and again, his wide receivers were talented. It was Jordan Matthews, Darrell Green Beckham, Josh Huff, so on and so forth. I agree with you. I think he does still have the tendency of locking onto one reads because he trusts Zach Ertz so much, because Zach Ertz has been one of the most reliable tight ends, pass catchers really in the league. I think that's still an issue in his game that I would like him to still spread it out more. But then again, the argument that most Eagles fans has is he never has talent to play with. I agree with you though. I think last season was his best season by far as a pro.
Yeah, and I would definitely say he still kind of has his like feet in the sand from time to time, but definitely not nearly as much as he did coming out of college or in his rookie season. Like I definitely agree that it's like even mentioning it at this point is kind of like a nitpick, since it hasn't really showed up nearly as much as it used to.
So what progressions have you seen from him as a deep ball passer from his rookie year to now? Because I think in his rookie year he was very low. I think you had a below Sam Bradford, I believe.
Well, Sam Bradford was also like pretty good in
with the deep ball. Yeah, with Minnesota, he was a great deep ball passer in Minnesota. Yeah.
Well, as you said, like his deep passing in his rookie season was pretty unrefined, which is kind of expected for most rookie quarterbacks. You can't expect to be at the level of Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes right away. Like it's definitely going to take some time, like for anyone, even if it's like the best rookie quarterback ever. And in 2017, it wasn't looking all that great either, but like maybe I was just a little more jaded, like looking at that. But the best throws from back then could match someone like Rodgers, Breeze, or Wilson downfield. It's just that he wasn't at that level of consistency from those guys yet. But something happened in 2018 and 2019 though, where his accuracy just took a big step forward down the field. Obviously you wouldn't be able to tell that last year based on how many drops his receivers handled him. And I mentioned that in last year's deep ball project that he had like 12 accurate deep passes that resulted in incompletions, or as what I like to call accurate incompletions. And that tied for the most in the league last year based on my charting, which was again 12. And a good portion of those drops actually cost the Eagles wins, such as Aguilar's drop against the Falcons, which How do you do that?
I was in person, man. I was in person seeing that. I was at that game. Oh god.
You were at Atlanta? Oh my god.
Yeah, I literally was in the stands when because I saw Wentz throw that ball up in there, and I was like, wow, Aguilar has a beat on that guy. He might actually score there. Nope. Literally, it's a right in the hand. But so where I was sitting, when he used the excuse, I could see the ball in the lights. It got lost in the lights. I was like, damn, that is a valid excuse. But oh my god, he threw the game away. Still,
it's also Aguilar. He'll drop like whatever.
Okay, no, the next play, he caught a contested catch over two defenders and caught it beautifully. Literally the next play after he dropped that wide open pass.
I mean, to be fair, like that wide open pass, like would have been a touchdown because he had a step or two.
He was going to score. Yeah, no, he was going to score, and then plus he is a good receiver after the catch. Yeah, he was definitely going to score for sure. And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside against Detroit has to be one of them too, correct?
That's literally what I was about to mention next. That bomb he once threw to him on fourth down. Like obviously it wasn't like the most easiest catch, but like he was giving them a chance in fourth down, and like that's all you can really account for at that time.
It's funny you say that because there's been an argument though, once kind of underthrew it and all this stuff, and I'm like, when you're a big body wide receiver, that's what you're labeled coming out of the draft. Yeah. And you can't outbody the corner that you had to step on, who's actually in really bad positioning on that specific play, because he's basically just diving at this point. And you can't get up in the air and get the ball that's sitting right in your hands. Yeah, no, that's the wide receiver for me. I'm glad you agree with that, because that was all J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Yeah, it was the Aguilar drop against the Falcons, which is one. Arcega-Whiteside against the Lions, and when Aguilar miscalculated that throw against the Patriots on fourth down as well, that one was particularly brutal. At first it looked like Wentz threw it wide of him. It was behind, but looking back at it, Aguilar definitely miscalculated it, and he definitely could have made it way easier on himself if he just tracked it down. But he as he showed. Yeah,
right. Tracking skills was very awful.
Yeah, it was not good.
Going back, when you watch that play live, or you watch that play in fast paced motion, that ball kind of looks like it's going out of bounds. So I guess that's maybe what Aguilar was looking at. I'm not trying to defend him, but his position on that was awful. If he would have caught it the way that he was trying to originally catch it, without contorting his body back, he would have been out of bounds. So I don't know. His ball tracking skills were awful. We could just pick on Nelson Aguilar this whole entire show, but talk about a letdown. Out of all the quarterbacks you watched last year on the deep ball wise, because again, when he came out, I agree with you. I think his deep ball was awful. His deep ball accuracy was awful. I think it took really up until 2018, like you said, and really this year, past 2019, for him to really get his accuracy down. I think having Deshaun Jackson, a guy who creates constant separation, and then practicing with him and workout with him in the offseason really was what helped his accuracy even get more pinned down. And I think his feet movement, again, he got laser eye surgery just like James Winston just got. I think that helped too. But the guy just, if you're watching this film, do you look at it and say, wow, there's not a quarterback that gets more let down than Carson Wentz throughout his career? Because he's never had a 1,000-yard wide receiver yet in his whole entire career.
Well, I think in terms of last year, that's definitely the case, and it's funny you mentioned that. We mentioned those 3 games, so the Eagles were a team that were 3 drops away, those key drops. They were 3 drops away from reaching 12-4, which would have been remarkable with what was going on with the wideouts. And I don't know if that would I don't think that would have been enough to get a first round bye. I think the Packers and 49ers both.
Packers 49ers, but still, I think because the Eagles would have been the Eagles at the end of the day. They still had their deficiencies and injuries, but you're right. I like that point that you're making, because most people that argue the Eagles only went 9-7 last year, to expect them to win the division again this year is stupid. They really were 3 couple Wentz plays away that he made that his wide receivers didn't make to win the game.
Right.
It's crazy to think about. Especially because, a lot of people I'm glad you tweeted this out the other day, because I thought the same thing. A lot of people always harp on Russell Wilson doesn't have the wide receiver talent. I would kill for a Tyler Lockett for Carson Wentz.
Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, even
Doug Baldwin was a great wide receiver. I would kill for Doug Baldwin during Russell Wilson's prime.
Yeah, he's really one of my favorite receivers from the past decade. I feel like he's been vastly underrated because he's played in the run heavy offense for so long.
Right, but he did have number 1 type wide receiver production. The Carson Wentz's best wide receiver season is Alshon Jeffrey at 800-something yards, and Carson Wentz really didn't play that most of that season. It was 2018, so it's been rough. Alshon's on the deep decline. Deshaun, I don't think they can rely on him much going forward. Jalen Reagor's his only hope.
Well, that and maybe Arcega-Whiteside, because I don't know. I was pretty high on him coming out of college, and then he just laid an absolutely fat egg in his rookie season. Didn't even show up.
Because see, my thing is Pac-12 wide receivers that can't create any separation. I'm always chilled on them at that point. And then the Eagles drafted him. I'm they wanted Alshon Jeffrey. Maybe they have some kind of design for Arcega-Whiteside to take over for Jeffrey and be that type of wide receiver, but. That was one of the worst rookies, not even just wide receivers, one of the worst rookie seasons I've ever seen, period.
Damn.
It was tough, man.
It was tough. Statement.
Because it's not even that – I know people are going to say that's an overreaction, but it's not like they didn't give him any opportunity to be a good player. He was on the field a lot. They actually chose to start putting these practice squad wide receivers on the field more than him. And a lot of people are going to be Arcega-Whiteside was injured. If he was injured, they didn't have to play him. They were that bad at wide receiver where they could have just went with a practice squad. He wasn't making a difference. So they could have easily not played him, but he was still good enough to be healthy and suit up every Sunday. So to me, it's tough to see a rookie wide receiver look that bad and think they're going to come back from that, especially that position. They usually don't. But, a lot of people kill me for it too, because again, he was only a rookie last year. We'll see going forward. I at Stanford, all I was saying was I was watching at Stanford, I wasn't impressed because I don't think that wide receivers in the Pac-12 that can create separation, if they can't create separation there, they're not going to do it in the NFL, because most rarely are they facing press coverage in the Pac-12. It's mostly off coverage, and he still was getting clamped up by all these corners. He just won with positioning on them because he was a lot bigger and more physical than those guys. He came in the NFL where most guys press and are as big as you or as physical as you, and that's how he looked. So that's my issue with him. And I don't think he fits Carson Wentz, to be honest with you. I think Carson Wentz, and I don't, if you've seen this in your studies too when you watch this film, he looks guys that create separation. That's why he loves Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is going to have enough space off his coverage for Carson Wentz to put the ball in there. And I think another thing that is improved to Carson Wentz the most is ball placement. His ball placement was erratic at first. His rookie year in 2017, he got away with a couple like Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey being veterans and know where to put their hands at. A couple passes there as well. But now his ball placement's like right on the guy's hands, or like right into his chest. Zach Ertz creates enough separation for him to do that, to be confident to throw it to him. Deshaun Jackson, week one, the first one is against Josh Norman, where we all know Deshaun Jackson's going to beat Josh Norman at this point in his career. That was an easy ball placement pass. Carson Wentz could confidently throw that because if his guy can't get it, nobody's going to be able to get it. That's the type of quarterback that I see him become now because of how his rookie season went, where he had 14 interceptions. Now, ever since, he's only had 7 each season that he started.
Really?
7-7-7.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. So he went from 21 interceptions in 3 seasons as a starter to 14 as his rookie season. I don't think he wants to be that guy where he had to be, because that a lot of times that season, outside of Zach Ertz, the same thing there. These guys weren't creating separation. Jordan Matthews could never get separation, and he played the slot. Aguilar was inconsistent as hell. Joel Green Beckham, I'm not sure if you remember him, but he was a stick in the mud trying to run routes.
Absolute trash. It's funny you mentioned 7 because 14 is also a multiple of 7.
Exactly.
Man,
it's all Illuminati. Exactly. I'm glad you brought up the Illuminati.
Wentz just lives in sevens. And we don't speak about Dorial Green Beckham. That guy. Oh god.
Bro, no. I was very high on him too. It took a huge L on that. I loved him at Mizzou. I thought he was really going to be the next guy. A lot of people were comparing him to Megatron. I was like, all right, I think that's a little unfair.
He was miserable with the Titans in his rookie season, like absolutely miserable.
Yeah, they got rid of him as soon as they could, and they won that trade. Dennis Kelly's been a huge pivotal player for the Titans. He's made more touchdown catches, I think, than Dorial Green Beckham did with the Eagles.
Boy,
which is insane.
Yeah, he did. He had that playoff game against the Chiefs where he had the touchdown.
Yeah, and then he did the same thing before. I don't know if it was against the Chiefs, but it was in the regular season too. But my thing with Carson Wentz, and I don't know if you watched Jalen Reagor yet. I know you like to do your own thing with rookies coming out. Yeah, I always like when you decide to watch them and you're like, all right, I'm gonna make a thread, 30 film clips. Here you go of this guy I just watched. But have you watched Jalen Reagor?
I have. I watched him before the draft. Actually, I thought he was a pretty solid receiver. I was actually kind of like blown away by a couple of his highlights. I think he's a pretty solid receiver that can create separation. But unfortunately, another reason why he could fit in Philadelphia for like very anonymous reasons would be that like he still drops a lot of passes, and if he's able to clean that up, he's definitely going to add to the Eagles' plan of a vertical game, and it would definitely be an absolute boost. And perhaps they wouldn't be able to rely on a rookie running back from 2019 as their only vertical threat again.
Yeah, it's just the worst season to ask a rookie to step up for, and somehow the Eagles always get in a situation where they're going to have to ask a rookie to step up. But I think it's going to be the same thing here with Reagor. But to me, the drops are concentration drops, which he's admitted to, and I mean, as you know as well. The season, but I think this is just me being theoretic and watching too much of his film because I loved him pre-draft. He was my wide receiver 4, to be honest with you. The thing with the drops, I think he just had no chemistry with any of the quarter. He played with like 4 different quarterbacks at TCU, and none of them were accurate. Shade Robinson is probably his best quarterback he played at TCU. And the season he played with him, he had 131 targets and 4 drops. Then you go into last year, it's Mac Dugan, who's like a true freshman quarterback who sucks. That guy has no NFL future at all. Very erratic, has no accuracy, no ball placement whatsoever. And he has 7 drops. So I think that plays into it a little bit, chemistry's a thing. I mean, I do think he will struggle with concentration drops, though. I think he will have at least 5 to 7, maybe a year, hopefully less, you would hope. But I mean, you look at Mike Evans, you look at Amari Cooper, you look at some of the highly targeted guys in the NFL that have higher drop numbers than you would expect. I can live with drops. I think it's an overrated stat. I think it's just blown up in Philly because the wide receivers drop the passes and also don't produce at the same time.
Yeah, they also drop key passes too, like
yes, very key passes.
Falcons, Lions, and then Patriots cost 3 wins right there.
So let me ask you this: since you evaluate the quarterback position very well, I love your deep ball project. It's one of the best projects out there. What do you think Carson Wentz has to do? Because you saw it last year, and I'm glad you're in agreement on me. That last year, I think, was his best season as a pro when you take everything into consideration. I know everybody wants to – he only had 27 touchdown passes when he had 33 in 13 games, 2017. But everything, like you said, was going right that season. Everything that could possibly go right offensively was going right for the Eagles. When it doesn't go right, he still threw out 4K yards. First quarterback in NFL history to have 4K yards with no wide receiver over 500 yards.
Yeah, I saw that.
Everything that's going on around him is going completely wrong at the wide receiver position. He has practice squad guys out there playing the games. Greg Ward, honestly, was their best wide receiver last year. Like you said, Miles Sanders was probably really their best wide receiver overall. But from an actual guy that's playing the position, it's probably Greg Ward. And Carson Wentz throws for 4K yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, has the one of the best passer ratings. Doesn't make the top 100, which I have no idea what that's all about. I don't know how Josh Allen. I know you and I are high on Kyler Murray, but I don't know how Josh Allen can make that list over Carson Wentz. But anyways, what do you think he has to do to become an MVP in 2020?
Honestly, it really depends on what happens with his wide receivers. Like he's definitely obviously he has enough more than enough talent to really dazzle an NFL audience and produce at a high level. It just what's going to happen with his wide receivers? What happens to Deshaun Jackson? He's one of the greatest deep threats of all time, and the amount of speed that he has at full health will make it really easy for any big-armed quarterback targeting him, which is obviously Wentz is one of them. The problem for Jackson is he'll be 34 by the end of the year. At least he's not coming off any leg injuries of significance. He's coming off an abdominal injury, but he'll also be 34. So I don't really expect him to have the same level of speed that he would have in 2009. There was a huge contrast in his performance or the offensive performance between his involvement in Week 1 and when he missed the vast majority of the season afterwards. Alshon Jeffrey, I don't even know what's going on with him. I don't really expect much of him.
He's on the PUP. He's not going to be back till December. There's nothing. Yeah, nothing's going to happen there.
So
they just lost Marquise Goodwin.
Oh,
he opted out of the season. So that's. I think it's going to be a tough season for once again too. A lot of people are projecting great things for him. I'm glad that you're being on the realistic side of what I'm being on with Deshaun Jackson. I think anything he gives you is an added bonus. I did. Because people are going to be like, Connor, you're a hypocrite. I did have him making my top 10 most. He was either in the top 20 most important Eagles list because he's the legitimate only vertical threat in a season where we had coronavirus and the rookies have an uphill battle to learn.
Yeah.
But again, he's still going to be 34. I don't expect much from him. He's coming off the sports hernia. It's going to be tough, man. Goodwin was their only veteran that had speed. Now he's out. They're going to rely on a bunch of rookies. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I don't think is going to be that much better, especially because of this pandemic. It's going to be tough for him to throw the ball. I mean, Goddard and Ertz are one thing, but if they get Jackson for 12 games, I think maybe you could see Carson Wentz in the MVP talk potentially, but I know you have to have the stats to back it up, and especially the passing touchdown stats. It's going to be tough for Wentz.
It is going to be tough. It can be done. He really just has to repeat. And this might be asking a lot, considering he's probably not going to face the exact same teams over and over and over again. But basically for him to win MVP, he's got to repeat the same December stretch that he had last year Again, like all four of those games were against NFC East teams, and if you know anything about the NFC East, it's kind of been an absolute train wreck recently, or at least last year it was. It was kind of a train wreck.
It's been a train wreck. It's
Yeah.
it's been a train wreck. Dallas hasn't gotten any better, I don't think, to be honest with you. CeeDee Lamb's nice and everything, but their defense is taking a way step backwards, and then they hired Mike Nolan. The Giants are the Giants. The Redskins they're not even the Redskins anymore. Excuse me, Washington franchise. Well, so, the NFC East is it's a shit show, and I don't think it's going to be much better in 2020 either as well. I mean, every team that's in that division except for the Eagles has a new coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
During the worst time to have a new coaching staff, during the worst off season. So I have no idea. I think if they have a stretch where they have those games again like last year, then I think the Eagles just propel themselves to win the division even more. I just think with Carson Wentz and like what you're saying, he's going to have the stats. I don't know. What would you like? Just me asking you as a guy who evaluates the game and taking the coronavirus into consideration, the pandemic, and who knows what's going to happen. What do you think rookies can really just transition to the NFL next year and hit it right away? Or do you think it's just going to be like an off year for rookies where we should just write it off anyways?
I think it's going to be an off year for rookies. I'm not as high on Joe Burrow as I was Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, so I don't really expect him to have like the kind of statistics that Murray had. Like he was a little more mobile than Burrow, and Burrow is going to play behind potentially like the worst offensive line in the league. Definitely one of the worst offensive lines in the league.
Absolutely.
I don't even think Zach Taylor is even that as good of a play caller or as good of a coach as Cliff Kingsbury. So that's probably like that's going to be another issue. And he's in year two of coaching, like, and Kingsbury was in year one. So I don't know. I'm like in terms of receiving talent, like he definitely has better receiving talent than Murray did in his rookie season. It's just the offensive line and how Burrow's going to be able to handle that. And also Tua and Herbert, I don't expect them to play too much in their rookie seasons, even if there were to be a 16-game season. I just don't really expect them to get really much playing time if Tyrod is healthy and if Ryan Fitzpatrick continues.
Just not with this pandemic. It's just it's not a fair situation to put any rookie, and that's why I'm worried about the Eagles because now they're relying on Jalen Reagor, they're relying on John Hightower, the guy that fifth round, they're relying on Quez Watkins. I mean, I hope they would. My hope is they go out and get one of these wide receivers, but now Antonio Brown's been suspended for 8 games, and that was the first guy I was really thinking of. Like, give him a second chance. I mean, the Eagles gave Michael Vick a second chance out of prison.
Yeah.
They kept Riley Cooper after what he did. They've given Deshaun a second chance now after what just happened with him.
Yeah.
I would go out there and get Antonio Brown in a second, especially with such a lost season. But if it's shortened, then he's screwed because he's out 8 games already. So what impact can he possibly bring you is what the question mark is going to be and why he probably won't get signed. But if I'm the Eagles, and I'm saying this now for this episode just to spice things up, I sign Antonio Brown. I would give Carson Wentz Antonio Brown just to see what happens. Let the Eagles work on him. Let Philadelphia Magic get into his system because I think Michael Vick turned his career around absolutely exponentially when he came to the Eagles. I would trust the organization to do the same thing with Antonio Brown, but just because they have so much on the line, and I mean, I know you're not familiar with their cap situation next year probably, but they have one of the worst cap situations in the league where each team is set to lose like $70 million each, apparently, with no fans. They have so much what if. I would just go all in on this season. That's going to be such a lost season as it is. Get Antonio Brown and make a run for the Super Bowl because Carson Wentz deserves a wide receiver Antonio Brown's caliber. That's what I'm just saying. That'd be a nice little thing to see.
I mean, you do have a point about the cap situation, but the Eagles also do have Howie Roseman, who's proven to be a cap wizard of an extent.
I don't worry about the cap with Howie Roseman in charge. That's
don't worry about
never that. It's just crazy, but this is not like it's anything Howie Roseman's ever faced in his life. It's not like anything any of us have ever faced in our lives.
Right.
With everything that's going on, I think from a standpoint of the Eagles and the cap situation, they're going to have to get rid of a lot of players next year and start over with mostly drafting guys. So that's I mean. Now, I mean, people are going to listen to this episode and be like, now Connor's thinking the Eagles are going to be rebuilding after this season to get that way. But, I mean, I think they're going to retool. I don't think they're going to rebuild because I think they have their core pieces.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. But let me ask you one more thing since we're on the talk of the quarterback. You Jalen Hurts fan?
Kind of. I think he's rawer than previous Oklahoma quarterbacks, but I also think he's a pretty talented quarterback in his own right. His arm strength isn't god awful. He's a very mobile quarterback that can make a ton of plays outside structure, and I think for like behind a quarterback that's gotten injured a lot, I think that's very valuable for the Eagles offense, especially since there was a lot of controversy going out when they drafted him in the second round. But I think over time I've come to accept it a little bit more because it made me think, you know what, like this probably makes a little more sense considering like Wentz definitely needs to stay on his feet for a full season, be able to not have like all that injury bad luck that he had in last quarter of the season, and especially with that BS concussion that he sustained against Jadeveon Clowney, which is by no means his fault at all. But at the end of the day, like I don't really blame the Eagles for taking Jalen Hurts. I think he is a talented quarterback, definitely raw, definitely not as professional of a quarterback as Kyler Murray or even Baker Mayfield after his rookie season. But I think under the Eagles coaching staff, I think he's definitely given one of the best chances he could possibly get to maybe start or maybe be a key contributor to the Eagles offense.
So I've been going back and forth with this theory because I was a Jalen Hurts fan. I actually like him more than Justin Herbert, to be honest with you.
I would probably say that as well. I'm not really a Justin Herbert fan.
I'm not either. He looks awful under pressure, and I don't think that's going to change in the NFL. But anyways, not to get into that. To Jalen Hurts point, Frank Reich goes to Indianapolis thinking he's going to have Andrew Luck, and that's what Chris Ballard set the whole team up for. They go all out for Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
He up and retires. Nobody sees it coming at all. He cites injuries. He cites he wants to be healthy. He cites the rest of his life. Now I look at Carson Wentz, who has been down this. He was compared to Andrew Luck coming out. He has a ton of injuries to go off of. I would think he kind of has more of a list than Andrew Luck does at this point, or around the same. Just has a newborn baby. Maybe the Eagles are thinking, we know that this quarterback, Jalen Hurts, is that talented because apparently we had on the show a beat writer who said Howie Roseman was at the combine, at the Senior Bowl. Had one conversation with Jalen Hurts and how he was sold and just wanted to draft him straight off that conversation. So maybe they're thinking like, hey, we saw our ex-offensive coordinator go to a position where he thought it was going to be one way, where it hasn't gone at all. And now he's hoping that Philip Rivers, who looked awful last year and who's not getting any better with age, can be this thing, whereas the Eagles can be Carson Wentz retires, and now they have Jalen Hurts going into year 3 of his rookie deal, year 3 of his career, or year 4, whatever, so on. Now they're in a lot better position because I think Jalen Hurts has the tools to be a starting quarterback as well. I think kudos to Lincoln Riley because you see what happened with Kyler Murray when he transferred there. You see what happened with Baker Mayfield when he transferred there. What amazing strides Jalen Hurts took when you compare his Alabama quarterback tape to his Oklahoma quarterback tape. From when he left Alabama, I didn't think he was a quarterback at all.
Yeah.
He goes to Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. His mechanics take a huge leap. His overall arm talent, I think, because he got to showcase it so much more. Everything from a quarterback standpoint took such huge leaps under Lincoln Riley. There's still some things in his game I don't like. The hitch in his throw, I hate that. That has to go. That's not going to last in the NFL. It took 3 seconds to throw a pass last year, which would be 34th in the NFL underneath your boy Kyle Allen. So that's not going to work. So there's a lot of stuff to work on. But, I mean, again, he's so raw, like you just said. But the talent's definitely there. Do you think that maybe this Andrew Luck situation kind of played in the Eagles' back of their head? Is that like a possibility? Am I crazy for thinking this?
No, you're not crazy for thinking it. Or like once is also like he's going to be 28 by the end of the year too. Like like that's not old for a quarterback, but that's also like he's no longer one of the young quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes even. He's getting up there. He's 2 years away from being 30. So I don't blame the Eagles for getting on this like sooner than later, because that was like the major complaint for the Colts under Andrew Luck, except like in that case it was an offensive line, and for the Eagles it's a backup quarterback that can actually that can actually play. That's not going to like have like a huge drop off, and that of course was something they had with Nick Foles during that Super Bowl run, but they really haven't had since. Josh McCown, God bless him, he was 40 years old and like making his first playoff start.
He was falling apart on that football field. He completely
oldest quarterback to ever do that. I think it's a start, like make his first appearance, but he's not near the talent or consistency of Carson Wentz, and like not even near like talent of like a backup guy like Foles. So they I definitely don't like I really don't blame them for going after Hurts like as early as they did, because like I do think Hurts might have been gone after the third round at least. So the Eagles like had to be thinking like, well, we'll get some Wentz insurance, and hopefully we'll be able to like capitalize on that. And they did by getting Hurts. Now they just have to develop him and maybe get it into a similar situation that the Cowboys had with Tony Romo and when they drafted Dak Prescott. And he went from a backup to becoming the starting quarterback, and now he's having all this franchise tag trouble, which is like how far he's gotten has been incredible for a fourth rounder. And Hurts was obviously drafted 2 rounds earlier, but like he could be entering into
well, yeah, because you're right. So the history of not being a first round pick quarterback, or at least the top 10 even, is against him automatically from that standpoint right off the bat. And it was against Dak too. It's hard for me to envision this, obviously, because I think Carson Wentz is definitely the long-term option, definitely the more talented quarterback, and it's just the injuries are piling up for sure. I just think you're right. They fell in love with the guy. Like they cited the fact that they missed on Russell Wilson when they wanted to get him and Nick Foles that year in the 2012 draft as the reason why they said screw it and just take Hurts now. I'll never agree with taking a backup quarterback in the second round, because I don't even think Howard Roseman wants this situation to happen. I think he's perfectly fine having a capable quarterback behind Carson Wentz on a rookie deal. I think he's perfectly fine if Carson Wentz does up and retire, like I just said earlier, like he does pulls Andrew Luck. He's perfectly fine with having that guy in his building to turn the franchise over to. He clearly thinks Jalen Hurts is the leader that I believe he is as well. I just think if I have to really hope my second round pick doesn't play, because the better quarterback is on the field, and that's where I just cannot condone it. I think if you take a backup quarterback in the fourth round, maybe like the Jacob Eason type develop. I'm not even a fan of Eason, but I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
From those guys, make them game managers, develop them into game managers. Those guys are the guys that you can get in to replace Carson Wentz if he goes down. Because I mean, take out that Jadeveon Clowney hit. He had a full healthy season last year, and that was a dirty hit, like you just said. So I don't know. There's ways where Howie can look genius with this. There's multiple ways. He could either Jalen Hurts plays a lot because Carson Wentz gets injured. The Eagles cap situation isn't screwed because their backup quarterback's making a rookie salary. He plays well. The Eagles trade him to get the best of the compensation they can get. Or he replaces Carson Wentz and becomes the franchise quarterback. That's the only good ways that pans out. The other way that doesn't pan out is he plays the whole 4 seasons under his rookie deal, doesn't play much. He leaves a free agency, or, the Eagles have some – I don't know. They couldn't handle it with Nick Foles. They couldn't trade him after what Nick Foles did. He left as a free agent to the Jaguars, so maybe something like that arises where they can't get something done. Then I'm like, wow, you kind of passed up on Denzel Mims. You kind of passed up on Christian Fulton. You kind of passed up on AJ Espinosa, J.K. Dobbins, et cetera, et cetera. That's where I see it hurting the most. So it's such a bold move by Howie Roseman just to say, hey, I won my Super Bowl, my backup quarterback. If I have to do it again, I will. I think that's his arrogance right there and making that pick. But you can't – I mean, it's good. It's never a bad thing to have too many quarterbacks. And I agree with you. I'm high on Jalen Hurts. I think if gets the right quarterback development. I thought Tennessee was perfect for him. Arthur Smith's play action offense. I thought that would have been perfect for him to replace Ryan Tannehill down the line. In Philly, in the West Coast offense, I'm like, But then I remember they play so much 12 personnel and so much spread concepts, and then they completely switched their offense to an RPO type system for Nick Foles to succeed.
Yeah.
I could definitely see Jalen Hurts succeeding in an RPO type system in the NFL. So maybe that's where I'm thinking, like, hey, if Carson Wentz goes down, the Eagles go straight RPOs and actually have the mobility factor that they didn't have with Foles and Hurts, they could win. So now that I have time to reflect on it so much, and even to really go back to that Andrew Luck theory, because that does have ties to the Eagles since their offensive coordinator went there taking that job.
Yeah.
Maybe that what did play in their mind, and maybe that's a good reason to pick him up because, again, Carson Wentz gets – because he didn't just tear his ACL in 2017. He tore his ACL and MCL. If he does something like that again, and with his newborn baby, where his life's heading right now, maybe he decides to pull an Andrew Luck. Because, I mean, he does have a Super Bowl ring no matter what. Without him playing that season, there is no Super Bowl. There's no Lombardi in Philadelphia. So maybe that's good enough for him. I don't know.
I mean, it could potentially be, in regards to Hurts again, as we've seen with Foles in that Super Bowl run, Doug Peterson has shown that he's been able to adapt to his quarterback whenever, the quarterback that he's had. He's given McCown, Foles comfortable offenses to deal with in the same way he did for Wentz, for the grand majority of his tenure as head coach of the Eagles. So I have no reason not to suspect that Peterson's going to do the same thing for Hurts if Wentz goes down. God hope he doesn't, and for the reasons you stated. But if he does, I think he's in good hands with Doug Peterson, considering all the work he's done with quarterbacks previously.
All right, man. To end the episode, I'll ask you this one last question. Where would you rank Carson Wentz in terms of having the best deep ball in the league? What number ranking would you give him?
Well, he was essentially 9th in accuracy for the last 2 seasons on my deep ball project, and I think around there is a pretty fair ranking. He's definitely shown that he's been really good as a deep passer in terms of accuracy the last couple seasons. It's just in terms of statistics, it's not quite there, obviously because of his wideouts. They get stop dropping passes, man.
But I agree. I mean, hey, top 10. I'll take top 10. Top 10 best passing, deep passing quarterback in the league. I'll take it for sure. Hopefully, Jalen Reagor and John Hightower, Quez Watkins, one of these young guys pans out as well because they're filling in for a slot position now and they're filling in for a Z position now in the offense. So we'll see how this speed affects him this year and how much better he becomes. But if you would have told me, based on watching from this North Dakota State tape, that Carson Wentz would become a top 10 deep passing quarterback in the NFL, I would take it easily. Because from what I saw back then, I questioned his deep ball. I thought he could be a starting franchise quarterback in this league, absolutely, but his deep ball is questionable because I think he adapted too much to the speed of the competition he was playing with because the wide receivers and the DBs were always slower. Yeah. And when he came into his rookie season, that's exactly why the interceptions happened because he was lobbing too many of these passes. He wasn't getting his feet into them. He wasn't stepping into them at all. Now he does that a little bit more, and now these passes have more air under them, and he throws incredible air yard passes now, where he used to get killed for his rookie season.
Right.
I think to tell me now that Carson Wentz is a top 10 quarterback of deep ball passing, because I know a lot of Eagles fans insist on him being higher on lists and higher on rankings and all that stuff, but to tell me now that he's a top 10 deep ball passing quarterback, I'll take it for sure. That's a great accomplishment for him.
It is, and as you mentioned, it's been with receivers that can't stop dropping balls, and it's been in offensive schemes that maybe haven't been as consistent as they were in 2017. It's also been behind worse offensive lines. They're not atrocious in terms of pass protection, but they're certainly giving up more pressure. They certainly been giving up a significant amount of pressure in comparison to 2017 and even 2018. So that's something that we have to see improve going forward, and that's essentially why they need to see steps out of Andre Dillard for one thing as well.
They've never really been the best. PFF always grades them well for this, but to me, they're such a superior run blocking offensive line more than they are pass blocking.
They are,
and I think it's going to take a step back this year, even now with Brandon Brooks out. Jason Peters potentially playing right guard. I don't think it's going to last that long. I think Peters is going to play left tackle and replace Dillard, because again, horrible offseason for Dillard to become the starter in for such a young player with confidence issues already right off the bat. But Johnny, already 45 minutes into this, man. We got to wrap this up, my man. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on and shedding some light on Carson Wentz because, again, like we said in the earlier show, first you're skeptical of him when he first started in the league. Now you become a believer. I'm glad to hear what you see now compared to what you saw back then and why you think he improved and everything better now. I think Johnny Page will forgive you after he hears this episode. No, I'm just kidding. It's I told him, I'm like, hey, man, you know how I'm friends with Johnny Kinsley? I'm about to have him on the show and talk about Carson Wentz's deep ball accuracy. And he goes, you know, him and I have beef, right? I was like, what? Because Johnny's like one of the nicest people in the world, too. And so are you. I was like, it was
like 3 years ago, that beef.
Yeah, he said he didn't show me what it was. I didn't look it up or anything. We said, yeah, I mean, we were just going back and forth on Wentz, and then it got ugly.
It did.
All's forgotten. We're all forgiven. Johnny said he wished he could have been here for this episode to record with you and talk about how you've seen the improvements from Wentz. I think he'll refer back to this episode. I'm glad to hear you shed some light on the. We're all good now. We don't have any beefs at Eagles Brawl. We're all straight here. All right, Johnny, at Brickwall Blitz on Twitter. Again, the Deep Ball Project. Check it out if you haven't already. One of the best projects out there. It really calculates quarterback's deep ball accuracy. And it also tells you stuff that the box score doesn't, especially when it comes to the Eagles wide receivers and dropping 12 accurate deep ball passes, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. I'll never be able to get over that. But again, at Brickwall Blitz on Twitter. Details will be on the podcast episode to go find him at. Johnny, thanks for coming on, my man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course.